Welcome to the Bush League Huddle Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Nacc, and I'm joined by my two co-hosts, but enemies tonight, as the Steelers face off against the Giants. That's Fab, and that's Raj. On today's show, we'll each be breaking down the biggest winners and losers from Sunday's Week 8 games. We'll also cover some key injury updates and some Fab-worthy waiver picks, as well as we get closer to the fantasy football trade deadline. Instead of our usual ahead of the curve and cut the cord, we will highlight players you should trade for or buy low or sell high. As usual, guys, please do us a favor, like, follow, share, subscribe on all of these social media platforms. Check us out on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. We post daily, and it's fire. So let's, without further ado, let's dive right in. Raj, what did you take away from the Sunday games as a winner?
I think this is going to be the first Thursday winner that we've had in this segment. I'm going to go back to Thursday Night Football. And I had, as you guys know, I had told you preemptively that I wanted this as a winner. But for me, it's the Rams. Off the floor, on the board. The Rams are back, baby. The Rams are freaking back. Puka Nacua, as a Puka Nacua owner, I was very excited throughout the day, the Thursday nighter, because I had him on IR the entire time, and I was very wary of starting him, but he balled out. I think he had like 7 catches, 100 and something yards, 18 fantasy points. And I was telling Nick, because I was facing Nick this week, and I know how much he likes Puka. When we saw each other on Friday, I was convinced that Puka has been ready for 2 or 3 weeks, because there was not much of a pitch count on him. The first 2 plays, they went directly at him. They threw some screens, and he's a wrecking ball, man, the way he plays. So I was really happy to see him back. 18 fantasy points, 22 routes run, targeted on 41% of his routes. Yeah. Kupp didn't have a monster game, but he helped draw attention to himself. Mm-hmm. And I think we saw how Demarcus Robinson benefited from that. Yep. And with Kupp back and Puka back, everyone kind of slides down to their usual roles. Stafford was vintage. I had put him on my hate, and he made me look like an idiot. 4 touchdowns, avoiding pressures, making guys miss. He was fantastic.
To be, I guess, fair to you, we didn't know both Kupp and Puka would be back at the time of the recording. So I guess we'll give you a slight pass. No,
I don't want to pass. I'm happy for it because Puka's back. But I could have seen it coming because the Vikings defense has been struggling. Goff, McVay knows Goff. KOC was McVay's offensive coordinator, and I'm sure he game planned the hell out of that game. So, and I think just to close the book on that, Kyren Williams, he's making us look like an idiot. RB1 numbers again. He's been under 15 fantasy points just once this season.
Yeah.
And he had another 20-point performance. And even the defense, that's the most surprising thing about this defense, actually looks pretty good from a pass rush standpoint. They talked so much about Jared Verse. He looked amazing, and he's been amazing, applying a lot of pressure. So I think this division, we talked about, I think, Fab, was it you who mentioned that you thought the 49ers were going to be able to run away with the division? I think you mentioned it last.
We're not going to be able to run away with the division.
We're not going to be able. Okay, so I agree with you.
Like last week, I had mentioned that obviously this was before we knew about Kupp and Puka Nacua coming back and even playing on Thursday. But it was following the game they had last week, and how you kind of have to question if they're going to have a chokehold on that division like you would expect them to. And honestly, now that the Rams are back, I don't know if they have that anymore.
No,
don't sleep on the Cardinals either. Slowly back to 4-4 as well. So that division somehow
they're too heckling. They're too like heckling.
But they play the division tough. That's what it is. They really play that division tough, and that's when it's going to come down to in that division. I feel is a division game. So
do you guys think the rumors are? I mean, I think the rumors are gone in terms of trading Kupp, and I never thought Stafford was going to go because he's firmly entrenched as a Southern California guy. I actually think
also those dead cap hits were like monstrous. If you look at his contract, like he had, I think this year was like 128 million, like dead cap. So I didn't even know where those rumors came from and how he was actually going to be tradable. But no, Kupp is staying put. There's no way they're trading anyone, especially as we just alluded to. They're in the thick of things. So what would be the reason to trade Kupp for like a 3rd round pick? Like that doesn't help you.
Agreed.
What about you, Fab?
Cleveland rocks. The Browns. I can't believe the Brown is my winner this week. I can't believe that. You should be happy, Nacc. They beat the divisional opponents.
I was very happy. I was going for that. I was very
there. It
good.
is. The Browns, led by Jameis, eating them dubs. Winston took it to the division rivals Ravens and finally had the day the Browns fans have been waiting for. Browns scored 20 plus points for the first time all season. Jameis Winston threw for 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, 26.5 fantasy points. It's the first time all season the Browns threw for 300 plus yards. Deshaun Watson hadn't thrown for 200 plus yards all season, and the last time he threw for 300 plus yards was in January of 2021.
Okay, let me just stop you 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Watson's done, right? Like, it's over?
Like, for the rest of his career?
Like, career done?
Yeah.
Like,
honestly,
his career's over, right?
Been done.
Yeah.
Like, backup at best?
No. Well, I mean, there probably is an injury designation according to his contract, right? Like, I would think that would tie him to the team for the foreseeable future, or at least to the end of his contract, because that contract is fully guaranteed.
Yeah.
I would just cut him.
I think
really
he will play another down for the Browns. But as far as a fantasy-related product is concerned, or even real-life quarterback, I don't think he'll ever come back to his glory days in Houston.
No, that's for sure.
Yeah, but the Jameis Winston, low-end QB1 rest of the season, I think is not out of the realm of possibility. In 2 quarterback league, Superflex league, I think he's a weekly start. In 1 quarterback league, I think he's a little bit more matchup dependent, but I think Jameis Winston's going to sling it all day, every day. And yeah, really, really, well, it's good. It's good for the entire Cleveland offense, as we're going to talk about in a second, because Cedric Tillman, Roger, your little darling over here, he went off. He went absolutely off. 7 receptions, 99 yards, 2 touchdowns, 9 targets, 25% target share, which is great. Monster game, definitely startable the rest of the way. You have to assume he's going to be at worst a flex spot on a week-to-week basis, but those are some legit numbers. David Njoku, 5 receptions, 61 yards, 1 touchdown on 7 targets, 17 points. Tight end 1 for the rest of the season with Jameis Winston under center. You kind of saw what he did last year with Joe Flacco, and now he has another gun. Now he has that gunslinger again throwing in the ball, which is great. So the tribal chief tight end is back. Just a little tidbit too on David Njoku. So he had 26.3 fantasy points in a game and 1 drive with Jameis Winston. He had 33 in nearly 4 games without him. So you can clearly see he's benefiting from having an actual quarterback, or like a real throwing quarterback throwing the ball. Elijah Moore too. He got involved quite a bit. 8 receptions, 85 yards, no touchdowns, but 12 targets, which I thought was very noteworthy. He was he was more oftenly the second read, I think, on a lot of Jameis Winston's dropbacks. So 16.5 points. And honorable mention to Nick Chubb. As always, you got to give love to Nick Chubb. 16 carries, 52 yards. Not a great day, but his rushing share did increase from 69% to 76%. And with the Cleveland Browns offensive line getting better and healthier, you have to think that Chubb he could have a breakout game this week versus the Chargers. So, but all the same though, keep in mind they play the Ravens that are very not good on pass defense.
Very not good.
Very not good. They're ranked the worst in fantasy points per game, I think, right now, if not the second worst. But, the Browns offense could be a sleeper fantasy darling with Winston under center for the rest of the season. At worst, those guys are flex plays. There's no risk it. There's no biscuit gunslinger type of action is what they needed from Deshaun, but it really never materialized.
Fab, I was going to question you on the low-end QB1, and then I looked on fantasydata.com, and the low-end QB1s are Brock Purdy, Bo Nix, Geno Smith, Trevor Lawrence, and then Cousins rounds it off at 12. Somehow Jared Goff is QB 13, which is nuts.
Considering he throws for 85 yards a game, yeah,
they're a running team, man.
Yeah, exactly. And they're not running he doesn't run the ball, but it's not that off actually. Now I think like Geno Smith has been really inconsistent. We know how weak Lawrence has been so far this year. And even Cousins has been quite up and down. Like Cousins is only good when he faces the Bucks.
So. Yeah. He has what, 80 points? 80 points facing the Bucks?
Like 75 points.
Yeah. So you're not that far off with the QB1, to be honest.
Listen, he throws it, and surprisingly enough, Jameis Winston didn't throw an interception, which I think is the most
He
interesting
should have.
stat.
I think they dropped like 2 or 3 interceptions. Like, which
Yeah,
is
well, that's
par
also
for the
because
course.
the backup cornerbacks for the Ravens are playing, and they're just not a good pass defense to begin with, right? Like, you can't necessarily expect 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions every single week, but he will be throwing it, and he will be throwing it a ton. And
He's
I
going to
think
make
that's,
his mistakes, but
of course, but who
look, you're going to
cares
have to
though?
live with it, and exactly, he's got nothing to lose, so I think it's
From a
good
fantasy
for
perspective, you like 2 quarterbacks league, automatic start. Superflex, automatic start. The only thing where
I
you can
agree.
actually have a conversation about is matchup dependent for a 1 quarterback league, but apart from that, like, fire him up.
Yeah, I agree. For me, guys, I got to give love to a National Tight End Day. I was laughing all week when you heard it. Obviously, everyone, you guys must have heard it uh, throughout the day.
I never heard about this.
Um, no, I heard it throughout the day, like
I'm
National Tight End and
kidding.
National Tight End Day. And then Robbie started 2 tight ends against me, and I was laughing at first, and then they both went off. I guess he knew something I didn't. But the tight ends definitely did not disappoint. They actually went bonkers, man. 177 receptions. That was most ever by tight ends on a single day. And 16 touchdowns, most ever on a national tight end day. So here's some notable stats. You had Cade Otton went off for 2 touchdowns, 21.1 fantasy points. He's definitely a locked, loaded tight end 1 the rest of the way. Kyle Pitts, I guess we gave up too early on this guy. Another 2 touchdowns on Sunday. Travis Kelce, first touchdown of the season. Obviously, it had to happen on National Tight End Day. George Kittle, excuse me, continues the dominance as the QB, the tight end 1 on the year, just shy of 25 points. And Trey McBride went off. Adam Troutman went off 18.5 fantasy points with what's his name, Dolch in
Dulcich.
the Dulcich, who's in the doghouse right now. Obviously, we spoke about David Njoku. Sam Laporta caught a touchdown pass from David Montgomery. That's that's how we all
That's
drew it
wild.
up.
That's
I
wild.
assume for him to finally go off fantasy wise, and then rounding it off, Tucker Kraft, who's been pretty good. He's been up and down. I think like 1 week
Yeah.
yes, 1 week no, but still almost 17 fantasy points. So definitely want to give love to all those tight ends out there. Hopefully, you guys started at least one of these guys this week, and if you did, probably had a good week in consequence. So that about wraps up our winners for this week. Raj, why don't you give me a loser for Sunday's games?
Yeah, one of my losers. Well, the main loser I have this week in Nacc. I think props to you because you called it early on this season, but the Texans passing game has been a bit of a dud lately. And yeah, Nacc, you called CJ Stroud somewhat
Regression.
of a regression season for him. He's averaging 14.8 fantasy points per game in 2024 versus 18.4 last year. And since losing Nico Collins, Stroud has seen his fantasy points dip to an average of 12 points per game. So I don't think it's solely the absence of Collins that's to blame. I think the main issue that a lot of analysts are talking about and you see on film is the offensive line has been
Yep,
really struggling with protection.
he got
He's
hit a
seen a
lot Sunday.
yeah, he got hit a lot. He's gotten hit a lot. He's already seen a 5% increase in pressure rate compared to 2023, and he's on pace to being sacked almost 10 more times this season compared to last year, where he was at 38. He's already at 22 so far this year, and he's also had a significantly higher bat throw percentage. So Collins, I think he's expected back soon from the hamstring injury.
Yeah,
I
week 10.
It was week 10. It was already announced he's not going to play in week 9. Unfortunately for me and for the
But
Texans,
he's still
Diggs,
on IR though, no?
he's
Right?
Yeah.
I believe he's
Yes.
I
still
think
on.
IR
Yeah,
ends this week.
yeah. Diggs looks like I believe it's definitely an ACL. It was a non-contact injury, and even Tank Dell has had a slow start coming back from ACL injury. Although he had a really nice catch yesterday. The big thing has been Mixon has been so good. Like
Yeah.
he's been, especially the last 2 weeks, hasn't necessarily put pressure away from the passing game. And I don't want to I don't think Stroud is necessarily playing worse. I don't think they have a CJ Stroud rookie hangover problem. I really think the big issues are the offensive line, and they're having as a whole a hard time adjusting to that as a team.
Yeah, look, man. I like you alluded to. I did call like everyone was cramming for him to be top five fantasy QB this year, and I was like, I don't even see him finishing in the top 10, which he right now, obviously, I think he's maybe even out of the top 15, if I'm not mistaken.
He's 14th.
There you
Yeah.
go. So he's 14th right now, and going down on pace, not scoring more points, he's scoring less. So look, it's that sophomore slump, man. You have issues. There's more tape on you, but yeah, definitely, like you said, definitely that offensive line is an issue right now in pass protection because the running game is going well. So they're definitely good in the run game, but they just can't pass protect. He got hit way too often on Sunday, and some of them were pretty brutal hits. So I don't think that's sustainable for keeping him healthy throughout the year. So I think they're going to have to maybe see what there is at the deadline, maybe go grab some depth at the O line and see what they could find. But yeah, I definitely agree with you.
My
I think
CJ
not
Stroud
having
MVP pick is not looking good. I had put
yeah.
$5 on that to win like 200, and I don't think
Yeah,
it's going to hit.
if you could cash out now, I would do that.
I don't think
I think not having Nico Collins is a big reason for that. I don't disagree with these stats at all, but I have CJ Stroud on my team. I think I might bench him on Thursday for Aaron Rodgers, just for the matchup. Just like looking at it right now, like it's not a very good matchup versus the Jets, and he hasn't been playing that well, and their wide receiver core is like completely devoid of any talent at the moment besides Tank Dell.
Actually, this would be the week I probably would play him because the Jets can't get home in pass protection, and they kind of just got torched by Brissett, who led them to a few touchdown drives when he
Yeah,
came in.
Rodgers has been even worse than Stroud. I don't think
Yeah, but
Rodgers
Rodgers has a better. Anyway, this is a topic for maybe tomorrow night. But Rodgers has a better matchup on paper too, though, versus Houston.
I
I'm
disagree
not
with
sure.
that. Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Up for debate.
Yeah. Who's your loser this week, Fab?
Chicago Bears cornerback Tyreek Stevenson. So in the final game of the in the final play of the game of the Washington Redskins playing the Chicago Bears, Jaden Daniel threw up a Hail Mary to win it for the Redskins over the Bears in what was a desperation play and rarely ever gets completed, quite frankly, except if you're Aaron Rodgers, but more on him in a minute. But thanks to a bonehead play by the Bears cornerback Tyreek Stevenson, who before the play even started was lined up 10 yards out of his own end zone and was
And it was like
mocking the
25.
fans. Yeah, and was mocking the fans and the players on the Redskins sidelines. 10 seconds later, after Daniels was scrambling and let loose a bomb to the end zone, Stevenson actually batted the ball into the arms of Noah Brown, giving the Redskins the win. Yes, I said Redskins multiple times, but who's counting? It's an all-time bonehead move, instant karma, deserves to be ridiculed, and my loser for the week. And even the head coach already, Matt Eberflus, said he'll be held accountable. Suspension is on the table. And one thing,
No, they have to suspend him. If they don't suspend him, he loses the locker room there, man. Like you can't have that. He was supposed to be the guy behind Brown.
Exactly.
That was what he was.
He missed his assignment.
He was behind the last receiver.
Yeah. He was just.
Then he went for the ball like a.
The play started. The wide receivers were running down the field. Jaden was already scrambling in the background, and he's still like yapping at the sideline, which makes no sense to me.
He had the ball for 13 seconds.
Yeah.
That's the issue. I find the strategy, like Eberflus is a defensive coach, and everyone's talking about the Hail Mary play, and now a lot of people are talking about the play before the Hail Mary, where they allowed them to get 20 yards, which then set up the Hail Mary. Yes. I hate when coaches, I hate when they don't apply any sort of pressure and just make the quarterback dance around the pocket for 20
it's
seconds.
Analytics, man. It's like
they give up those chunk plays.
You give up the chunk plays because how often does a Hail Mary happen? You know, like, look, if he was in position like he was supposed to be and not playing around with the crowd like a bozo, like he was supposed to be behind Noah Brown. If he was there with him, like he wouldn't have caught it.
It's crazy.
Very good chance. And he's the one who tipped it.
And he tipped it and it went the other way.
He batted it behind him.
Like he jumped at it. Exactly. He knew he was out of the play. He came back and he batted it behind him.
And Noah Brown was in the end zone all by himself. There wasn't a player within like 5 yards to him.
Yeah, because he was supposed to be the player on him.
It's ridiculous. Honorable mention, though, the Jets. Rodgers looks lost. The offense is hard to trust. The team's a mess. Rodgers is used to going to dark places, and now he's in one in a way on the outside of making the playoffs too. So that's it. I had to mention it. I had to bring it up. They're like 2-6, and I
feel like it could be on the list every single week.
What's that? So they were just quickly. Jets' record through 8 games last season were 4-4 with Zach Wilson. Now they are 2-6, and they
Yeah, they're
also
saying
became
they got much worse. He made
yeah.
it. He made the team like
And the
it's
Jets
dysfunctional right
continue to
now.
make history. They became the first team since 1940 to lose a game while scoring 20 plus points, committing 0 turnovers, and holding their opponent to under 250 yards of offense.
Yeah, it's not
When
great in
Jets
New
fans
York right
right
now.
now, like you want to bury your head in the sand, and I don't blame you. It's tough
Yeah,
right now for
did
Jets
you hear
fans.
Greeny this morning?
I did not know. What do you
He
say?
went off, man. He just like
Yeah.
he's like, this is the most embarrassing I've ever been as a Jets. I'm embarrassed I've ever been as a Jets fan.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is the most embarrassing thing anyone's ever done in any team sport ever. Is right now the Jets. So let's move along. My hate of the week, real quickly, is they've made the list 2 weeks in a row now, but it's Shane Steichen and the Colts. Situational coaching is super important in the NFL, and he does not have it. One play that comes to mind is with 34 seconds left in the second quarter, with his team backed up on their own 12, he called a terrible play. Obviously, the QB wasn't great in that situation, but the game was tied at 10, and they were receiving the second half kickoff. So I really don't understand what they were going like doing there. Um, Obviously, I would have probably kneeled the ball or handed it off to Jonathan Taylor. Like I'm still pretty dumbfounded of what happened. But anyways, he ended up picking off, throwing an interception, and then the following play, Houston took the lead with a touchdown. So uh, I'm not sure what's going on with the Colts, but that game was for the division, and they laid an egg. And then you have uh, Aaron Ar after a long scrambling play, coming off because he was tired, subbing himself out because he was tired. Yeah, he hit his helmet. Like I was like, what was he doing? So everyone thought he was maybe winded or had cramps or something. But then he met the media after the game, and what shocked the football world, he said, "I came out because I was tired." 22 years old, this kid. I'm tired. So that was inexplicably stupid, and will definitely not sit well in the locker room. I'm sure a lot of players took that really poorly, and I'm all for transparency, but that's when you lie, man. That's when you lie and say you did get winded or you did, something happened because I don't know. At this point, guys, I think Joe Flacco is the only thing that's going to save Steichen's job, and I wouldn't be surprised if he plays next week because of what AR did.
This is like Jamarcus Russell bad, I find, in terms of like his play. And
Yeah,
like I listened to there's a few podcasts that are even like wondering, does he even know the playbook? Just like it sounds like he just telegraphs passes without even
yeah.
reading a defense. And it's really concerning. He needs to sit down. They need to stop playing this guy because they're going to ruin his career. And he and Trey Lance will be very clear case studies to not draft players who have less than 15 starts under their belt
Yeah.
in college. Like this is going to be a clear case study to never do that
Well,
again.
look, you mentioned Jamarcus Russell. He has the lowest completion percentage in the last 20 years at 44.4%. The next one, you have Tim Tebow, 46.5. Jamarcus Russell was at 48.8. And JP Losman was at 49.6 back in 2005. So um, it's not looking good right now at the Indy QB unless you make a switch and go to Joe Flacco. So that highlights our winners and losers for the Sunday games. Quickly recap some injuries that happened. You had Jordan Love that went down with groin injury, looking like he's out until week 11. They have a bye in week 10, so likely not playing this week. Drake May suffered a concussion. He's currently in the protocol, so just one thing to monitor. Mahomes, I read, rolled his ankle, finished the game, but maybe something to monitor. Stephon Diggs, non-contact injury, so looks pretty much like an ACL. They're getting second opinions. Christian Kirk, subject of trade rumors, broke his collarbone, so he is also in fact out for the season. Brian Thomas Jr. Was feared. It was a chest and rib injury. It was feared he could miss 2 to 4 weeks, but looks like it was just a bruise that they found, so could possibly return in week 9.
Thank God.
Sterling Shepard, yeah, I know. Yours have been dropping like flies. Sterling Shepard injured his hamstring. Deebo Samuel as well left the game with a rib injury, and so did Jordan Mason with I believe it was a rib injury as well, rib or chest injury. So I guess they're looking forward to getting McCaffrey back most likely after the bye in Week 10. So now we'll take a look at the waiver wire for Week 8. Not as many names as usual, but it's kind of normal this far into the season. The waiver wire is kind of bleak. So just a reminder, we go through players with a 50% or less threshold on Yahoo leagues. Raj, any QBs you like this week?
Honestly, not really. Like, if you guys have been if listeners have been listening to us, like we've been calling a lot of the QBs to pick up ahead of the curve. No pun intended with our segment. Like Drake May, Jameis Winston. Like we called a lot of those. So I guess Willis, if you're in a pinch with Russell Wilson and Brock Purdy on bye. Flacco, that was another one that we put ahead of the curve as well. I wouldn't put any money on Brissett if you're that strapped for QB help where you have to start Drake May. That's on you. That's a you problem. Don't put money on Brissett. I think Flacco and Willis are worthwhile. And as we're recording this and we have Monday Night Football on behind Nacc, I still think Drew Lock is one that would be interesting to put some money in. But all these are like
And
5%.
Flacco, yeah, what do you 5% on Flacco?
Oh, sorry, no, 5% on like Willis and Locke. I think Flacco. The problem is it's not 100% clear that AR is going to be benched. I know Fab, you had put. What did Steichen say? Said we're evaluating everything.
Yeah, so there was a pretty non-committal response about AR. And Steichen did say that we're evaluating everything, whether he's going to be starting or not. So I thought that was very interesting. It wasn't a full-blown conclusion, like, he's starting, he's our guy, we're going to
What is
figure it
that
out.
Twitter? What is his that
Coach
Twitter
speak.
account? Coach speak. What is his?
We need
coach
to have
speak?
that handy. Yeah, I don't
we
have
should.
that.
What is his coach speak? I wonder what his coach speak is like.
I don't have it handy, but I think
But
if I have for Flacco, I would probably say like I think 10 to 15. I think I would want to secure him as my fourth QB in a 2 QB super flex on the odd chance, and not only any more odd chance, but I have to think it's likely that AR at some point will be benched. It's just not cutting it right now.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
And neither is his
Fab,
cardio.
Any running backs that tickle your fancy for Week 8?
Braylon Allen should be owned if you're a Breece Hall owner. Right now he's 37% owned, and I don't know what's going on in that backfield. Like every week it changes, and for the last 2 weeks prior to this week, It was Breece Hall all day, every day, and Braylon Allen wasn't getting any carries, and then at one point, like their carries were even, and even vultured a red zone TD. So I think Braylon Allen needs to be rostered if you're a Breece Hall owner. So Isaac Guerendo, it's interesting. He had a very nice week with 19.2 fantasy points. He's really not that owned at all with Mason being injured. CMC is set to return, but he could give you a spot start, and there might be a role within that offense going forward as well. It's possible, because you have to figure, as much as they need CMC back, they also want to make sure he's fresh and healthy for real NFL playoffs, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if there is a ramp-up period for him in the beginning, so he could still hold some value even when CMC is there.
Yep, I think I agree. Even wide receivers, there's not much. There's not much out there. I feel like John Metchie could be something potentially 0% owned, with Nico Collins still on IR for at least another week. Diggs likely out for the season. Metchie looked good in relief. He made some nice catches. I'm not sure again how much he gets bumped up the depth chart, or how much they trust him. Um, but then even like Cedric Tillman still like 19% owned. Elijah Moore 3% owned. So those are players that need to be picked up ASAP. If Tillman is on your waiver wire, I'm going 25 to 35% easily. This guy is your number one wide receiver in Cleveland. Jerry Jeudy is sleeping, doesn't care about football apparently. So I'd definitely go Tillman. I'd go grab him as soon as possible if he's still available. It's obviously going to cost you a lot more than it did last week. But go ahead and spend the money there.
I think more is a nice consolation prize. I think Fabio mentioned he had 12 targets, so 16.5 points. So if you can get Tillman more, makes sense. And even Judy actually had 5 for 79, so not so bad. One that we don't have on the list, but I was researching while you were taking us through the injuries, Nacc, was Xavier Legette. He is 15% owned. He had 7 targets, 4 catches, 34 yards.
We posted that in the when
Yeah,
Deontay and Thielen was hurt. I told everyone go pick up Legette, and he balled.
Yeah, 1 touchdown. So yeah, definitely. And then as you mentioned, Thielen, and then we're gonna get into some of the stuff with Deontay Johnson, but that's another one to add for sure. Yep.
And tight end wise, anyone you guys like this week?
Zach Ertz is always going to be my guy. If you need help at tight end, I think he's always going to have a role in that offense. Like you wrote over here, 3 straight double-digit fantasy outings. The safety blanket is always going to be there. No, I like Zach Ertz a lot. I think if you're tight end needy, maybe you didn't get so lucky and your tight end didn't go off this week like everybody else's. I think Zach Ertz is a very good consolation price.
And I know Fab, you like Trotman. I know you mentioned him a few times.
Yeah, no, Trotman is definitely interesting as well. 0% old, 18.4 fantasy points. He's another guy that I think should be looked at and picked up too. I think Greg Dulcich right now is in the doghouse, so there could be some more targets for him as well. I mean, I don't know how. Myself, I'm not a guy that really values a tight end, so I won't be necessarily putting a lot of fab on these. But if you're needy, I can definitely see you putting anywhere between 5 to 10% for either of them.
Yeah, I think I agree. So that sums up our mini fab waiver wire for this week. Not too many names, but still some meat on the bone that could be had. Again, go get Tillman and Guerendo. I think those are our top ads for this week. And now just to change things up a little bit, instead of going to our cut the cord and ahead of the curve segment with the trade deadline coming up here, fantasy trade deadline, we just wanted to highlight a couple players that maybe you want to buy low or sell high, and could be nice trade candidates for you guys. So I ask you, Raj, who's a guy you're looking for to maybe go pick up or sell?
Yeah, we just mentioned it, but I think Guerendo or Mason. I think I would try to see if the Christian McCaffrey owner is a little bit petrified about the injury history, and might be willing to give up like a WR3 or like a flex play. With CMC slated to be back week 10, like again, if I'm a CMC owner, I have to have that handcuff. If you don't already do, something that could be a really interesting one. I think Guerendo. We don't talk a lot about dynasty in this pod, but this is kind of the time when you start thinking about dynasty a little bit for people who are in those leagues. He looked like he had way more juice than Jordan Mason yesterday, like way more explosive. I think Mason is out, so I think that could be one that will be interesting. And as we said it, I can't see, as Fab you said, I believe, can't see CMC going with a full workload until the playoffs. Like, it's just too risky.
And what do you do? What do you do if you're a CMC owner and you're a Mason owner? Like, are you like that scared where you're gonna want to try to get all three? Like, what if you have CMC and Mason? Like, are you going after Guerendo? Like, are you trying to trade someone on your roster for like a third string running back?
Can we call Stamatis? I'm pretty sure that's his situation right now. No?
I don't know what that means.
I think he had all three. Yeah, I would. I mean, look, it's at some point like
It's scary, man.
3 running backs on the same team and 2 of them on your bench is a lot. But that's what, when I had CMC last year, that's what I did. I
remember you did.
I had his handcuff the entire year, and it's so yeah, I would consider it, to be honest.
Yeah, I guess it makes
you have
sense.
to.
It's tough to do, especially with only 5 bench spots. But sometimes
you need that backfield, right? Like, you've invested such a high pick in that backfield. You have to protect that investment.
And they've all shown that they could be fantasy producers. So, who knows? We'll see. Fab, what about you?
Deontay Johnson. He's a buy low target for me right now. Obviously, he's injured and he's coming off a few not so inspiring games, but reports are suggesting that he'll be traded within the week. Adam Schefter actually went on the Pat McAfee show today and says that he's going to be traded within the week. Ideally, he will be traded to a potential contender with pass catching needs. Hello, Houston Texans. I wouldn't trade too much, but it could be a useful player depending on where he gets traded to. So definitely something to keep an eye on, obviously. And I found a tweet online from Frank Amirante. Doesn't matter. The Texans are a sneaky team to trade for Deontay Johnson, right? There's a risk that Stephon Diggs suffered a season-end injury, which most likely he did. Tank Dell is nowhere near himself this year, and Johnson is a pending UFA who won't be too expensive and can slot into the Diggs role. I mean, this is from a CJ Stroud owner perspective, this would be very nice for me. I'd be very happy for this.
You know what? That's I wasn't thinking about that because I know we were speaking about it today, and I was saying that there's a lot of wide receiver needy teams that kind of already went out and got their wide receiver, and he cannot go back to Pittsburgh. So
yes,
it's. I was thinking, KC. I don't think KC is going to go after Deontay Johnson. Like, I don't know if they're going to get him as well. Like, people will be back eventually.
yeah.
I don't think that's their move, especially after they made another move today for a linebacker from the Patriots.
Yes.
So I don't think they're going to give up more draft capital for another wide receiver, especially look, they're 7-0 doing it without any of them, So once some of them start coming back, I think it'll be fine. Obviously, the Jets are not going to do it. Who else just traded for a wide receiver? The Bills. The Bills don't have any room on the cap, so I can't see them fitting him in there. But other than that, I guess
they just traded for Amari Cooper, right? And they have they have assets already, so I wouldn't see the Bills going for them. I think the Texans is a perfect fit.
Texans
and
is a nice
great fit.
Yeah,
it would be a great fit. This is because of the Stephon Diggs news, but he would be a very, very, very good piece in that offense too. And I think the fact that Schefter came on the McAfee show and said like very sternly, he's going to get traded before the end of the week. I mean, say what you want about Schefter, more like when he has a good feeling about these types of things, he's more or less accurate. I think so.
I agree. Definitely a name to watch, and I would definitely try to grab him if you're looking for wide receiver help.
What are you trying to say about Schefter? You think he's a snake?
Do I think he's a saint?
Snake.
Lose my number, no. Adam.
There's definitely some like used car salesman vibe or like snake vibes with those guys.
For sure. Snake oil salesman.
It's like it has to almost like it has to have that kind of vibe. But so a player I'm selling high on is Courtland Sutton. It was his fourth game this season above 27% target share, but it was the first time he exceeded 68 yards receiving or 15.3 fantasy points. So I think now is the time. He's another player that was talked about potentially being on the move to another team as well. But again, the market I feel like has cooled in the wide receiver aspect. I would, and they're winning too, right? They're not. I guess they're not in a hurry. Like they've been doing well. The team's been playing well. But this is the time now where he's had. I know he came off a dud the week before, but he had a really good game in week 8, and some people looking for wide receiver help. If you want to slide him in, showing him his last game, I would definitely try to sell him at his high point at this time because I don't see him going crazy in that offense, and I think that the rookies are going to be more integrated as the season develops. Like Franklin and stuff are going to want to get these guys more involved. I feel, and Sutton is like really, really up and down.
He's a good player, man. I wish he was on a different team. I really like him.
You love Courtland Sutton.
Yeah, I really like him.
He's a big Courtland Sutton guy.
Honestly, like we don't talk about this stuff, and it's like a bit corny. But the game he had 0 targets. Sean Payton went to see him and like apologized, and Sutton was like, "Hey, it's all good, man. We won. Like we got you the win." Like I like seeing that, and it shows signs of a good teammate. And I think I'd love to see him in a different situation.
Well, it's not over yet. But again, I don't see Denver trading him away.
No,
at the moment because they're still kind of in the thick of things right now. So, well, guys, I think that wraps up another edition of the Bush League Huddle Fantasy Football Podcast. And as always, guys, please rate and follow us on social media. Subscribe where you can. Especially on the the platform of your choice, wherever you listen to your podcast. Look out for our Fab and Waiver Wire picks on Instagram, on TikTok, and YouTube, as well as our Love-Hate Week 9 episode coming up tomorrow. So look out for that. As always, been a pleasure, and cue the music. Let's have a good Monday Night Football game, guys. What are your predictions?
I just need Malik Neighbors and Pittsburgh defense to score me 22 fantasy points. That's all.
My prediction is the Giants lose.
Yeah, that's not
you
a
know what? I'm
prediction.
so scared because this is like everyone's picking the Steelers to win, and like this is the kind of thing they lose.
The reverse Cornut over here.
Here we go.
Steelers.
We're in
color rush. We're
here
ready.
We go.
Did you guys see the special guest?
Going to the
Super
divisional
Bowl.
nothing.
Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
Peace.
Thanks for watching and listening.